Thank you for joining us for another edition of City Corner, an ongoing discussion program about what's going on in our community. My name is Trish Herron. I'm the Communications and Marketing Manager for the City of Richland, and joining us today is Fire Chief Tom Huntington. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for letting me join you today.
Oh, of course. So you're brand new to the Fire Chief position.
Correct, yep.
But you've been with the city for a couple of decades at least, right?
Yeah, 20 years, will be 21 years this summer.
See, there you go.
Yep.
So obviously your family has been part of the fire service forever. Why did you become a firefighter, and tell us a little bit about your family?
Okay. It's kind of a funny story. I was actually a music major in college when I discovered the fire service, and a friend of our family invited me to join the community volunteer fire department as a way to sort of give back and help protect our family and friends in the that neighborhood that we lived in. So I went to recruit school and just fell in love with the fire service. And next thing I knew, I switched majors, switched colleges, got into a fire science program, and a year later got my first job offer here in Richland, and the rest, as they say, is history. So you've
been with Richland the entire time as a career firefighter?
Yeah, I spent about a year and a half in Spokane at that department as a volunteer before I got my job here. But my entire career service has been at Richland here.
That's amazing.
So, yeah.
So what are your new couple months in? Are we at that
2 months
point
in, yep.
Mark? What are some of your goals for as the fire chief?
Well, some of the short-term goals, we've had so many retirements in the last year that actually by the end of this year, a third of our workforce will be under 3 years of tenure.
Wow.
So it's pretty amazing. With all those new employees comes a ton of energy, a ton of really talented people. So continuing to help them develop and grow into the full paid tenured position is going to be a key priority for us, setting them up for success and good mentoring and development. Along with those retirements comes a huge wave of new officers as well. So we've got a ton of new officers in position. So again, giving them the support and development that they need to grow into those positions is key. And then as I think everybody knows, Station 4 is under construction. We're expecting that to open midsummer. And so doing the operational preparation to transition to 4 stations is pretty key for us this year as well.
So that's this year. And before I jump, I want to commend the fire station or fire department on having that longevity. That's something in its own right, that you guys have that many staff members that have stayed on for that many
absolutely.
Years.
Yeah.
That's
for us, a 30-year career is not uncommon at all. So
right, and in the fire service, is that unheard of to have a 30-year career?
No, that's actually particularly in the Northwest here, the fire service that I'm more familiar with. That's a pretty standard for those that can get in early enough in their lifetime. 30 years is a pretty standard career tenure. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So that's your short term. That's your first year.
First year, yep.
What are some of your long-term goals?
So what I've challenged our folks in the initial meetings that I've had since moving into this position is to think about how do we become the department that is community-driven, customer-focused, and competition-ready. So every fire department provides the same basic services, right? Responding to fires, EMS calls, and so forth.
Hope, right?
Yeah, but what does our community need? What are the needs of the city of Richland? How do we support the goals that the council has set for our community? And how do we plug in to really know what is unique about the city of Richland, our community, and what those needs are, and respond and position to respond to those? So that's the community-driven piece. The customer-focused piece is people call us on the worst day of their life. What is an emergency to us can be very different than what it is to somebody on the other end of 911.
Right.
So we want to arrive at somebody's home or business and be ready to respond to whatever it is that they are experiencing, and really help them transition from that crisis mode back to a position where they're feeling stable and plugged into their support system, whether that's their insurance company, their faith community, their family, whatever it might be. So that's kind of the customer-driven piece of it.
So what does that look like? Is it just beyond the initial response? Is it the follow-up? Is that what you're anticipating?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of those things. Is having our crews arrive with a large toolbox, if you think of the skills that they've got, the resources that they can plug into, knowing what's available in the community to plug that customer into. So if we might have an elderly citizen call and their basement is flooding, okay? So we can arrive, we can get their water shut off and get the incident stabilized, but we don't have the resources or time to be able to clean up that flood.
Right.
But what we can do is then help them plug into the resources that they need to mitigate that. And so we stay with them long enough to get them handed off to the next level of care to get them stabilized long term. And that might be work that the initial crew can do, and it might be things that we have support services like chaplains and different departments in the city follow up on as well. So, but really trying to key in on how do we get our customer from crisis mode back to stable. So.
That's amazing. Is that a new philosophy in the fire service?
I think it's an evolving philosophy in the fire service. I think we're in a unique position because we sort of have a monopoly on emergency response. There's not, you can't call fire department A or B. You get who you get. And so I think in the early part of this century, fire departments sort of said, we show up, you get what you get based on how we feel that day or what we think we should provide. And over the last decade, I think we've begun to realize as an industry that we have to be responsive to our customers because we're who they have. So it's an evolving sort of customer service philosophy, I think.
That's interesting.
And then in terms of being competition ready, again, you don't get to choose between A or B, but as this community's fire chief, I need to be able to stand up in front of the media, city council, the city manager, community meetings, whatever the venue might be, and very proudly and boldly say that we're being responsible with the resources we're given, that we're using modern business practices, that we can demonstrate that we're paying attention to our business and putting our resources in the appropriate places with the appropriate funding, and really being good stewards of the public trust that we have been given in this community.
Which helps people understand truly what you guys do, because they only see the services you provide for the sliver of time that they need you for.
Yeah.
They don't truly understand all that you guys do, and how, I don't know if frugal is the right word, but how aware of budget you've been with Station 7-4.
Yeah.
So the next time we need to go and expand, because 7-4 is obviously not going to be the last one.
No, not if the city keeps growing the way it is growing.
And probably in your tenure, you'll probably need
There's a potential, certainly.
Another one.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about a little bit about some of the ways that you've been working with? I know we've talked to Joe Schissel about being very aware of the budget with 7-4, but you guys have been very much a stakeholder in what's been happening with 7-4.
You bet. I think Station 7-4 is a project, when it's all said and done, I think we're going to be able to look back at that and just be, the city can be really proud of what we did. I think our community, when we can tell the full story of what we've done there, the community is going to be able to be really proud of that as well. We're the first project in the state in this new threshold of under $10 million to do design build. Mm-hmm. And what that approach does is it puts all the stakeholders at the table with an equal share on this project being successful. Okay, so we want a great facility. The contractor wants to give us a great facility on budget, or it starts impacting their profit margin. The architect, same thing. So we put this really phenomenal design team together to work through these things, and we set a very aggressive budget for this thing. And by working together with sort of this equal stake in this project, we've been able to value engineer all kinds of things into this project that we may not have done had we had a larger budget to work with. And so, again, I think when we look at the total price tag on this and the facility that this community is going to end up with, people are going to be really amazed.
Do you want to briefly describe what value engineer means?
Yeah, so what we look at is for a lighting package, for example, we can do really fancy light fixtures from Germany that require special expensive bulbs, or we can go to sort of the Home Depot end of the spectrum and get, good fixtures that look nice, but you screw in the GE bulb or the LED bulb, that kind of thing, and you save a lot of money, but you still maintain the functionality. Our flooring we saved thousands of dollars on going with burnished stained concrete rather than some of the newer, fancier flooring materials that are available. We cut all the carpet down to just very small areas. So much more inexpensive or less expensive flooring to put in, and much easier and less expensive to maintain over the long haul. So
I heard a rumor that you guys were really good also about truly saying what you needed for space.
Yep.
So I've built a house before, and what I really needed and what I wanted didn't always match up. but that you guys were really truthful with maybe we don't need as large of a space for sleeping quarters. I don't know if that's the perfect example, but that you were very truthful and were willing to compromise.
Yeah, and really what we're trying to do is strike a balance between putting the building on the ground that allows us the capacity for some growth in the future. We do a lot of things like paramedic student ride along. We need to have facilities that allow us to put more than just the basic crew in there. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, be really honest with ourselves about how big of a station do we need? How much square footage of office space do we need? How much, how many bays do we really need? It would be great to have a 6-bay fire station, but the reality is 4 made a lot of sense. We actually shaved from the original concept floor plan that the architects put together for us. We shaved over 1,000 square feet off of the building with that evaluation. And we met with all 3 crews, all 3 shifts, and we had some really good dialogue about we're going to build a great facility here for us and for the city, but we really have to come together and identify what are those key things that we really need.
So one of the things that was really the driving point for 74 going into the location that it's going in is response time.
Yep, absolutely.
How do you, I'm assuming there's a national standard on response time?
Yeah, there's what we call an NFPA, National Fire Protection Association standard. We use that as a guideline. We haven't adopted that standard formally, so we reference it as we build out. We also have put in place with our partnership with other local jurisdictions, fire departments, this concept of putting our stations about 4 minutes apart drive time. And what that does is it positions the stations both for the best location for the individual jurisdiction, but it also builds a response system in the whole region. So our station not only makes sense for the city of Richland, it makes really great sense in terms of our location to 7-2 at Keenan Gage, as well as the next station in West Richland on the top of Bombing Range Hill there. So we do a lot of planning on where to put these facilities for the long-term impact to really creating a very, very strong response system across the whole region and across jurisdictional lines.
So when we talk about that essentially shared response time, if I'm a citizen of Richland and I'm in the South End, why is that important to me?
Well, again, as our community grows and the call volume goes up, our crews are out running calls more and more often. And by creating this regional response grid and the automatic and mutual aid agreements that we have, if both of our South End crews are out, we can pull from downtown or we can pull from that station on Bombing Range. And our customers then experience a more steady response capability across all of the jurisdictions, regardless of where they sit in that whole regional system. So West Richland will come in and assist us, Benton County Fire District 4, and likewise, if all of their crews are out, we send crews out to assist them, and it keeps a very strong response system across the whole community.
So I'm going to put you on the spot because this isn't something we had talked about earlier. So how do you incorporate the philosophy you spoke about earlier for your long-range goals into this this shared response time? So what happens if Kennewick responds to the person that has the flooding in the basement? Do we work together on that, or would we have someone follow up and come in and as soon as we were able to?
And I think one of the key things that we want our people to do is be responsive to those things on the fly. So in that case, Kennewick may come over. Again, they're going to stabilize that incident, get the water shut off, but they may not know who to contact in the city of Richland, for example, as a follow-up. We have a battalion chief that's on duty, the shift supervisor for the whole city for that 24 hours that they're working. That information would be coordinated back to that battalion chief, and then we would do the follow-up. In that case, the follow-up might lag a little bit behind to where it would have been had one of our crews been there initially, but we would certainly work to, again, get that citizen stabilized and get them plugged into the resources that they need to follow up.
So residential emergencies, 911, personal situations are different than house fires. I remember when we had a commercial building across the street here at City Hall catch on fire, and there was a bunch of different engines that ended up getting called for that. Do you want to talk about why there's so many different logos
absolutely.
on the side that come
Yeah,
in.
and I think that really speaks to, I mean, the Tri-Cities, even throughout the recession, we saw at least modest growth compared to a lot of places in the country, most of the country actually. Yeah. And that growth has continued ever since I've been here. In fact, if you compare our community now to 1994 when I got here, you wouldn't even recognize it.
Oh no, I've been here for a long time too.
Yeah, so you remember the mall in 1994,
I do,
right?
I'm a Kennewick girl. I remember driving down Columbia Center Boulevard and it was sagebrush on both sides, yes.
Yeah. So that growth has continued for decades now, but our emergency response growth has been much more modest. And so our call volume for all of the agencies has grown to the point where none of us has all of the resources we need to fight an actively burning commercial structure fire. So when we see that, a commercial building, and even a residential fire, most times you're going to see multiple agencies just to get enough people there to fight the fire and to have some reserve capacity and to ensure that we have enough people there to do the operation safely. It takes a lot of people to operate in a firefighting situation like that. We have the federal standards, the NFPA standards that I mentioned a little earlier, our state standards. All of those things dictate to us how many people we have to have on scene, what our training level is, what level of personal protective equipment, what kind of apparatus we have to have there, all those things. So by working together, we can continue to do managed growth in emergency services and really utilize this whole regional approach to responding, training together, buying equipment together, and really maximize be good stewards of that community dollars that we're talking about.
And my assumption is that by buying equipment together, that means that they're interchangeable. Would that be
absolutely.
accurate?
So if we have 5 or 6 agencies fighting a big commercial structure fire and we have an air pack failure, for example, they can drop that air pack at the closest engine and grab any air pack on the scene, put it on. It's the same equipment, same mask, same training, same standards, the whole thing. So there's huge benefits for that for us operationally.
And I'm assuming the philosophy is to better be prepared than to not have enough and need them. Is that correct?
Yep. And just a decade ago, many of us were in different air packs, as one example. And so if Benton County 4's engine was 4 blocks down and one of their firefighters had a failure, they would have to hoof it 4 blocks down to get one off their truck. And so you've got this time delay on a very time-critical operation and very, very resource-intensive operation.
So I'm going to jump on this one. So when you talk about that time delay, 7-3 is a really great example of the current location of where 7-3 is at, and that there's been long-term plans of potentially relocating that site because it's not a location where you could build on site.
Yeah.
And a lot of our buildings are extremely old.
Yeah.
We're in one. But beyond that, your needs are different than someone like me that just comes in and gets on a computer and works. You guys have functions that you specifically need inside your buildings. Mm-hmm. And so, but when people see some of the long-term plans of where you plan on having some of the stations, and they see that it's just moved slightly, it significantly impacts response time, correct?
And that's, again, if we look at that regional response system that we've set up, Station 3 at McMurray and Jadwin is too close to Station 1, is too close to the downtown. So you end up with the response districts squished together, too much overlap. By moving that station north just a few blocks, half a mile I think, or less than that, to the triangle, it does a couple of things. It spreads those districts out a little bit, and it puts that station on an arterial. So when they pull out of the bay, they can go north, south, east, or west on a high-speed roadway, and so they can get a lot of different directions very quickly from that location that they can't from the current location. That intersection at McMurray and Jadwin, depending on time of day, is a congested mess. And, and they can wait on that ramp sometimes 30 seconds, 40 seconds just to get into traffic, depending on rush hour and those variables. So yeah, it looks like a very small move, but it has significant impacts for our ability to respond and for the community.
And when you say 30, 40 seconds, people think, oh, that's a TV commercial, right?
Yeah.
But
if your house is on fire.
Your house is on fire or something is happening to a loved one, hold your breath for 30 to 40 seconds. and see what it feels like.
It feels like 30 or 40 minutes. I mean,
Oh, for sure.
Time just slows down when you're waiting for that help to arrive. And we see that over and over again. So we try to be very sensitive to that and really get out of the station as quick as we can and again, put those facilities in the place that makes the most sense to be able to get to the community in a timely fashion.
So it's a multi-pronged approach, not only putting the facilities in the proper location, but also requiring preventative measures. Is that correct?
Yeah, and really what I like to think is traditionally the fire service has been a single prong. You call 911, we fix your problem, we go home and wait for 911. That is a very reactive model, and the community will always need this baseline, this safety net of emergency response. There's just, when you stack humans together, the reality is we need emergency response in our community.
Right.
But if we can begin to work as an organization with the city and the other departments and identify what are the things that cause people to call 911 in this community, what are the unique things about Richland, what are the unique hazards and risks, can we do the work to get in front of the 911 call and reduce the volume in that category of calls or that area? And so that's our hope, is to really transition long-term to a two-prong approach of we still have to respond, be that sort of safety net for the community,
right,
but let's increasingly work on getting in front of the 911 calls and prevent those calls in the first place.
So are there some examples of preventative?
Yeah, so our commercial fire codes are a prime example. I mean, we've been doing that since the city became a city. We've been very aggressive in embracing modern fire codes, and I think you can see that in our rate of commercial fires in the city is very, very low. If we think in terms of EMS, if an elderly person falls and breaks their hip in the fall, it almost always has a significant and lasting impact on their quality of life. And it can actually impact them to the point of shortening their lifespan. So, of course, we're going, if somebody falls, breaks a hip, we're going to respond. We're going to treat them with care and concern and deliver great technical expertise in that patient care and deliver them to a very, very good medical facility. But that's a different outcome than if we could have worked in the community on fall prevention programs, fall awareness, have systems set up where there are contractors who will come in for senior citizens and provide really, really cost-effective measures so that people on fixed incomes can take advantage of the technology to prevent falls, things like that. That takes a lot of setup, coordination, and so forth, but that's the direction I think we need to go. That's where you really start making an impact to the quality of life in the community, I think, for our members, is those kind of efforts.
So we spoke about preventative in commercial structures. What are some of the preventative ways for a homeowner?
So there's a ton of resources online now. If you just look fire safety, that NFPA,
because everyone does that,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. So I mean, you can Google.
You
fire
do
safety.
that all the time,
Yep.
probably. You're like, fire, what's going on?
Yeah. But we're happy. In fact, when I got here 20 years ago, we used to make a habit of doing home safety surveys, is what we call them. And we would, people that had concerns or questions or they weren't sure, they'd give us a call and we'd just go down and kind of walk through their house and talk about, electrical safety and candles in the home is a big one, space heaters, baseboard heaters, that kind of thing. So, and we're still very happy to do that. So, with a little Google research or whatever, if one of our citizens still has some concerns or they'd really like a crew to just come out and have a look and walk through with them, we're really happy to do that.
So we're getting lower on time, but as a new fire chief, what would you like citizens to know? Sometimes when there's change, it's a worry. What would you like the citizens to know? Well,
I think the number of new people that I mentioned at the very beginning, that from the outside looking in, that could be a little worrisome, like, wow, that's a lot of new people. The caliber of people that we've brought on and the caliber of people in our organization is second to none. I think if our community members looked around at any given event in this community, fundraisers, charitable organizations, there is either a firefighter from their department in the background or up on the stage leading the charge on those things. Our firefighters are so invested in this community. The Codes for Kids program, the Mud Run, they make donations to charities all over the community. Our people are so invested in the community here and the well-being of the community, and they're here for the long haul. So I'm very, very proud of our people and the work that they do and the passion that they bring to what they do here in the community. So if I had to pick one thing.
Okay, well, I just wish your guys would brag a little bit more about it. From a communications side, we're always trying to hound them down, and they're like, no, it's the program, it's the that's Operation Warm. It's wanting to make sure that the kids have the coats, not us doing it. I just think it's an amazing perspective.
And I think that speaks a lot about the character of our people, because they're not trying to get in front of the camera and take credit for all this stuff. They're investing in these things because they believe in investing in this community, and that, I'm telling you what, that's powerful stuff in my opinion. So
is that just a philosophy of firefighters, or is that something that you push? How does that come out?
Yeah, I think it has evolved over time. Like we talked a little bit earlier on the customer service piece, there's a recognition that if you, that old philosophy of you call 911, we show up, we solve your problem, we go home, there's a disconnect there in that approach. And what our people want is to be just sort of integrated in, to be part of the community. I think ideally, when a fire truck drives through a neighborhood, we would love for our community to be able to say, there's our fire engine, there's our fire department, not there's the fire truck or the fire crew. To really have community ownership in what we're doing, and not only our emergency response, but to a certain extent their own destiny as a community, and how we help make this a really, really great community to live in.
Well, we're happy to have you.
I'm very, very happy to be here. I'm very excited.
Congratulations on becoming fire chief. It's a great addition to the city.
Thank you. It's been a lot of fun so far, so I'm looking forward to a long tenure.
Excellent, and thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to having another City Corner with you next time. Take care.
The City of Richland wants to make paying your utility bill as easy and convenient as possible. That is why we offer multiple options for payment. You may pay in person at the utility billing office located at 505 Swift Boulevard. Office hours are Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. This is also where you sign up for new accounts, pay for animal licensing, sign up for a business license, or disconnect your service. If you prefer to pay your utility bill with our automated phone system, you may do that as well by calling 942-1104 and choose option 2. Please have your current bill and account number available. You may also pay your utility bill online. It's quick and easy. Please have your utility billing statement available before you begin the online process. To access this service, go to Richland's homepage and click on I Want To, then Pay My Utility Bill. Richland offers 2 ways to conduct online payments. Infinity Link is a secure and easy way to make transactions. First-time users must register prior to use. Information such as billing history, meter reading history, usage history, as well as viewing utility bill inserts and autopay services are all a part of Infinity Link. Or if you do not want to sign up for Infinity Link, Richland also offers online quick pay. This service is a simple way to pay a current utility bill online. Richland's budget billing is a way to keep your utility payments equal for 12 months in a row. This service makes it easier to figure them into your monthly budget. If you're interested in this service, please call our utility billing department at 942-1104 and choose option 1. Services are also available for low-income seniors or persons with disabilities to receive assistance with utility bill payments. If you have questions about this or any other utility bill related question, go online or give us a call at 942-1104.